Well, this annual meeting of the Board of Governors is an opportunity to thank the governors of the university for your incredible support. The governors represent the stakeholders of this institution, and your involvement in our activities, your material and moral support, as well as your advice and at times critique, ensure that we, the management of the Hebrew University, are held accountable to our stakeholders. As I said, in what follows, I would like to offer a broad view of our main policies and the status of the university. And as is always the case, when one reports to other about his or her activities, it's mostly an opportunity for the person who presents to reflect on what we are doing, to even commit and define our goals for the future, so we both benefit from this opportunity. We'll start by a short discussion about students and teaching at the university. Then we'll move to a short overview of our activities regarding equal opportunity and diversity, and finally discuss some aspects of our research and faculty members. Starting with teaching and students, you know that as an institution of higher education, our main role is to preserve knowledge and transmit it, but we see the current trend in the marketplace, a trend that more often than not, graduates work in areas and hold positions not directly related to their fields of study. This is true in the field of law, where I come from, where less than one-half of the graduates of the law faculty in about 5 years work in other fields than lawyers. But it's also true in the humanities and social sciences, and even in medicine and in other fields. And there is an issue there. What is our role as educators given this trend? And it seems that universities have become as institutions that are in charge in a general certification process. And this is a role that accentuates our power in society, that power of intellectual socialization, creating the values of society, in fact, forming and socializing the elite of our society. And this is an extremely important and challenging role to educate the generations of leaders in our society. It requires hard work in addition to disseminating, transmitting knowledge as such in the specific field. And we see this trend mostly in the revival of the studies of social sciences and humanities, despite the growth of STEM studies. We see that there is a quest for these aspects of normative assessments of what counts as aesthetical values, of ethics and moral considerations. We see this requirement in the context of medicine, of computer science, of integrating ethical studies into the more traditional studies. And of course, this is a delicate balance that we work hard to achieve. And before delving into some data that I would like to share with you about our current status and progress, I'll just say that, as you already know, we are experiencing prosperity in this context of teaching and students. And this prosperity is mostly the result of our dedicated academic and administrative faculty whose hard work is translated to the high level of satisfaction of our students from their studies here, the approach of people outside of the university regarding the quality of education that we provide and other things. And for me, it's an opportunity to thank the faculty members, both administrative and academic faculty members, for their hard work. And it seems to me that this hard work is something that we should all appreciate, the hard work of those who are in charge of making sure that we follow the internal and external restrictions that are imposed on us, those that are in charge of providing various services to faculty, to students, and those who serve as managers of various units. And this is also an opportunity for me to thank, on behalf of the entire Hebrew University of Jerusalem, the deans of the 10 faculties. These 4 women and 6 men are the university's main driving force, and they are the ones who are to be primarily credited for what I view as our success. So it's an opportunity to thank you too. So I'll start with, as I said, a brief overview of our situation in terms of teaching and students more generally. Of course, the main change that we experienced in the last few years is the shift toward what we term as active learning. The experience of teaching remotely during the pandemic enabled us to make a real revolution in the way we teach, and this is reflected by a growing shift from passive learning of students in class or just reading materials into more active working in groups, submitting assignments, writing papers and things like that. In fact, nowadays, out of a little bit more than 5,000 courses that are taught annually at our university, in more than two-thirds of these courses, there is no final exam. The grades are determined based on written assignments and work that the students are doing during the entire semester, working together, as I said, in groups. And we believe, and we see the reaction of the students, that this is a positive development, and we hope that we will be able to continue with this trend towards the aim of completely avoiding any final exams in the university, although this might take some more time. We see that in recent years, students report on a greater level of satisfaction of their studies here. You can see here 3 different parameters. The first line refers to answers in a questionnaire that asks general questions about how satisfied are you with your studies at the university generally or in your specific department. And here the scale is from 1 to 5, where 1 is completely unsatisfied, 4 is highly satisfied, and 5 is very highly satisfied, so even 4 is good. And we see the increase over the years, and although it's a relatively small increase, there is a trend here, a consistent trend, and we believe that this summer, we asked this question each summer, about 50% of our students reply to this questionnaire, so it provides us with robust results that we are happy about. Of course, we receive criticism. Not all students are satisfied. In certain departments, there is still room for improvement, but the general trend, as I said, is a positive one, and the same is true regarding level of satisfaction from specific courses. We ask the students at the end of each course what they think about the course and what they think about the instructor. Here the scale is from 1 to 9, and again you see that this trend of improvement is reflected here as well. Again, a source for satisfaction for us as well. We are doing something right. Again, there is always room for improvement, but we believe that these changes towards active learning, the attempt of the decision of faculty members to invest more in teaching is rewarded by the students. We've taken various activities to make sure that we provide our students with the best possible education. We developed, under the leadership of our president, our industry-related courses. The vice rector is in charge of these courses in which students work in the industry while they're studying and do some research work there. It connects us and them to the industry, and it's highly important. We work very hard under the leadership of the Office of the Dean of Students to reduce dropout rates. Again, I will not elaborate on that, but this is a major mission of ours, and I'll return to that in a second when addressing the issue of equal opportunity at the university. We do we offer our students extensive extracurricular activities. Of course, at the Asper BOG Innovation Center that we celebrated on Sunday, and the Career Center, Faculty Mentors Program, and many other activities in this respect. And we can see that these and other activities has resulted in a substantial increase in demand to study at the university. Students or candidates would like to study here. We are unable to accept all those who want to study here and meet our very high admission criteria. I should note, and again I refer to it, we had to increase our admission criteria due to the high demand on one hand and the limitations set by the government on the number of students that we can admit, although we prefer not to set the admission criteria too high because we want to make sure that our body of students is sufficiently diverse. But you can see this trend of increase in the number of mostly undergraduate students. The increase in the number of graduate students, mostly research students, is still too low, and this is our main challenge for the next year, increasing the number of graduate students, because this is a major part of doing research at the university. The increase in the number of students has resulted also, of course, in an increase in our income, both from tuition, but this is not an important source of income for the university, mostly from government. The government provides us support based on the number of students and on the specific fields in which they study, so this is an important source of income for the university, but of course, this is not the main reason that we increase the number of students. We do that because we believe that it is our role as a public university to provide an opportunity to many to study here. And we work hard to increase the number of international students at the university. Increasing the number of international students is important as of itself, but it's also an important source to increase the number of graduate students. The number of potential graduate students in Israel is naturally limited, and we want to be able to attract brilliant students from abroad. So you can see here, there is a success. There is an increase in the number of students in the various programs. We assume that the increase could have been better unless the pandemic, and we hope that once the pandemic is over, we will see even an enhanced increase in the number of international students. And this, of course, is an opportunity to thank the International Office, our Vice President for International Affairs, and the excellent staff there that are doing a marvelous job in promoting our international status. Of course, there are many challenges in the context of students and teaching, although, as I said, this is one of the three areas that are our focus. This is the area in which we made the most success. We were most successful in achieving our goals, but still we have challenges. One of the challenges that I hinted before is that of interdisciplinary studies. We have to increase the number of students who study STEM, but also major in one of the departments here in Mount Scopus. We have to further improve teaching. As I said, the main challenge here is to increase the number of graduate students, both by attracting undergraduate students that graduated from our programs and attracting students from our other institutions, both in Israel and abroad. And we work very hard to increase the number of undergraduate students who spend at least one semester abroad during their undergraduate studies. Our goal in this respect is that 25% of each cohort spends at least one semester abroad. We have very extensive exchange programs with dozens of leading universities globally. Currently, the proportion is roughly 10 or 12% of each cohort that spends a semester abroad. And of course, as I said, we have to at least double this proportion. And we try very hard to increase capacity for teaching more students in specific fields in which there is a huge demand and a need in our society. Among these fields is, of course, medicine, computer science, and electrical engineering. We work hard to achieve these aims by trying to recruit new faculty members, build labs, teaching labs, and of course, teaching halls and things like that. This is an important challenge of us as well. On top of all those issues that relate directly to teaching, of course, we are also committed to aspects of equal opportunity and diversity at the university. As a public university, this is a substantial goal of ours. We do not believe in a model of the winner takes it all, or a competitive model where only the best and brightest can graduate. To the contrary, we are inclusive. We want to attract students from all parts of society. It's one of the benefits of being a leading university. And in this respect, we do several aspects, we work in various fields. One of them is trying to first to increase the number of minority students, both in absolute numbers and in proportion. We were very successful in this respect in terms of Arab students, both Israeli citizens and Palestinians from East Jerusalem. You can see the numbers here, again, compared to what used to be 5 years ago. And you see this real jump in the number of students. Currently, we have 3,500 Arab Palestinian students at the university. This campus is, in many senses, a miracle compared to what's going on outside of our campus in terms of growing hostility between Jews and Arabs and words of hatred and things like that. The fact that each and every day thousands of Palestinian students meaningfully interact with Jewish Israeli students is something that, as I said, is in a sense a miracle, and we work very hard to maintain. In terms of ultra-Orthodox students, of Haredi students, our success is nice in terms of the proportional increase, but in absolute numbers, these are not numbers that we are proud of. We would like to make a more substantial increase. You see that we have some success in this respect, but given the objective challenges in this respect, both due to the type of education that ultra-Orthodox students receive in high school, and due to their approach of preferring segregation between men and women and things like that. It is difficult to make a further progress there, although we set ourselves a goal to reach the aim of at least 1,000 Haredi students in about 4 years, and we work very hard to achieve this aim. In addition to this issue of increasing the number of minority students, we work very hard to increase the number of students from disadvantaged socioeconomic background, first generation in the academia. Again, numerous programs, activities there. This is the number one aim in this context nowadays at the university. In the survey that we've done regarding first-year undergraduate students, 23% of the new students reported that they are first generation in academia, and if we exclude Arabs and Haredim, in which this phenomena is more common, if we refer only to Israeli Jews that are not ultra-Orthodox, the number is about 12% who report that they are first generation in academia. And again, this is something that we should work harder to make further progress, not only in the undergraduate context, but also in graduate programs and in representation at faculty members. And of course, the main challenge here, and I already hinted about it, is the issue of having a multicultural campus and ensure that there is meaningful interaction and engagement between students from different backgrounds. The main challenge in this context is that we have to educate students to values of pluralism, of accepting the other, of not interpreting one's words or flags that they raise one way or another, realizing that different people may have different views and tolerate various views. There are challenges there, sometimes pressure from political entities, but we hope that we will be able to survive this. Of course, we work very hard with the devotion of our emergency division to make sure that no violence activities are conducted within our campuses. We reflect no tolerance toward these issues. And of course, the main issue there in this context as well is the issue of diversity among the faculty. There we made a progress, but again, not enough. We have about 1/3 of our faculty members, 37% are women, of our academic faculty members. So 37% is an increase from what was in the past, but it seems that we've reached a stopping point, and we need to make more, radical choices in order to break this stopping point and achieve the aim of equality. In terms of Arab faculty members, we were able in the last 4 or 5 years to double the number of Arab faculty members, but again, the absolute numbers are very low. We increased it from 10 to about 20, so it's only about 2% out of our 1,000 faculty members that are Arabs, but it's a process. And again, here we have an excellent team that is dedicated to these issues. The diversity and inclusive unit that is led by the Vice President for Strategy and Diversity, and her excellent team, and as I said, the Dean of Students Office with their work. And again, these are only representatives of people that do excellent job in this respect. Finally, before we move to the presentations of our faculty, a few words about issues of faculty and research. And while there is substantial progress in this respect, as we will see in a second, to my view, this is the issue that is the most pressing nowadays. Looking forward, this is the aspect in which we should do better. We were able to get out of the low point in which we have been, returned to our normalcy, as Asher called it, but further steps are needed, and I'll say a few words about that. So first, in terms of full-time faculty members, we made a deliberate decision to substantially increase the number of our faculty members. Each year, about 30 faculty members retire. As you know, there is mandatory retirement in Israel. So compared to the 30 or so faculty members that retire, we recruit at least 50 faculty members each year, and sometimes even more than that, and this results in this increase in the number of faculty members. We have set a goal of reaching around 1,070 faculty members within 3 years or so, and then we will reach a steady state. And this increase in the number of faculty members is something that required a lot of efforts, a lot of resources. We insisted very hard to make sure that we do not compromise on quality of the new recruits, and the tradition at the university is such that no compromise is even no one thinks of such compromise. This is the main table that we are proud of, that represents our status in Israel. What we see here are percentages. The government, through the PBC, supports the universities. It provides roughly $1 billion a year to all 7 universities according to their productivity in terms of research. And this productivity is of course not just numbers or quantity. It refers to quality by taking into account publications that are weighted according to the impact factor of each paper, winning competitive grants, and commercialization of knowledge and things like that. And you can see the percentage that each university gains from this pie in Israel. And this percentage represents not only the income that the university receives from the government based on our research productivity. This comes on top of our income based on teaching, as I said before. But it also reflects our relative status in Israel regarding the success of our researchers in their activity. And as you can see, we experienced a decrease in our share from 2016 until 2019. And unfortunately, in 2019, for the first time, as far as I know, for the first time in history, we lost our leading role, or first place, to Tel Aviv University. These numbers reflect mostly activities that was done years before that, because it takes time to calculate the data. So it reflects our status in 2017 or so. But as Asher mentioned, this was just a one-time incident. As you can see, looking at the last 3 years, we returned to our normal place as leaders in Israel. And the comparison that is most relevant for us is that to Tel Aviv University. Tel Aviv University is a university that is roughly similar to us in terms of the number of faculty members and the composition of fields of research, and therefore it is the relevant comparison. And of course, we have difficult competition with Tel Aviv, given the geography. While Jerusalem is great fun and excellent views, some people, for reasons that I'm not fully aware of, prefer Tel Aviv, maybe because of the sea. I live in the south, so I'm not part of this debate. And yet, we are able to beat them. And this is, again, the effort of many faculty members and the entire university. And when we see the numbers for the next year that is based on activity that was already happened this year. We have already the numbers. We see that this trend of a growing gap between us and the second place continues. So this is a story of success that we are very proud of. Again, it reflects in other activities in the Shanghai ranking. You see that we returned to our first place in Israel, ranked 90. And again, we have basis to believe that the ranking that will be published this August will reflect a further increase in our ranking. We'll see that in a few weeks' time. This is also true in the Nature Index. Again, we made a very nice progress. You see there. I will not go into all details here because of lack of time. This is an index that counts publications of faculty members in only the two leading, the holy grail of academia, publishing in Science and Nature. And again, you see that after some years that we were not successful, we returned to our good place. You see that the Weizmann Institute is before us in this parameter in the general Nature Index. But we are doing great, and this place of 50, around 50 in the world, is what we believe is our real ranking, and we hope to make sure that in all other rankings we are there as well. And as I said, we are on the right path. Of course, here too, we took, in addition to just increasing the number of faculty members, many activities. Some of them you already heard. We took great effort to increase the support that we provide to graduate students. We decided to waive tuition to all STEM graduate students. We decided to provide around $15 million each year to scholarships to graduate students there and here in Mount Scopus as well. And these activities are at the core of what we are doing to make sure that the faculty members, the researchers, have the needed infrastructure to do their cutting-edge research. We nowadays work very hard on improving our core facilities and establishing central hubs in terms of computation and other aspects. We established in the last 2 or 3 years new research centers, both university-wide and in faculties. Some of them you already heard of about the Sustainability Center that we are very proud of, university-wide center, the Center for the Study of Climate, Energy, Innovative Cities, Digital Humanities, Computational Medicine, and much more. And this has to do with the idea that sometimes we have to work hard in order to bring scholars together, to induce interdisciplinary research, and to make sure that we provide our researchers with the needed resources to conduct their research. Again, there are challenges there. The one challenge is to make sure that we are able to obtain the best new recruits. One aspect is lab space. Following the substantial increase in the number of new recruits in recent years, we have reached full capacity in terms of physical space in most campuses, and this requires building or constructing new buildings, a lot of efforts in this respect. You've heard about some of the projects in earlier days, but this is a challenge. And of course, we have the competition challenge. We compete mostly with the Weizmann Institute that provides the new recruits with excellent conditions for doing research. And this is our main competitor in the context of STEM studies. And we have to make sure that we provide our new recruits with comparable conditions. As I said, we have to work harder to achieve equality among our faculty members. I already mentioned it. And there are challenges regarding renewal of research equipment in existing labs. As you can imagine, equipment that is 10 or 15 years old very often cannot provide the resources needed to conduct research, and this is a challenge for us and for the researchers to achieve this aim of renewal of research equipment. An important aspect that is debatable, that we have not made a clear decision how far we should go, but we decided to make progress there, is that of staff scientists. Some say that the main reason for the excellent success of the Weizmann Institute is the fact that in each lab there and in the core facility, they have, in addition to the PI, to the researcher, to the faculty member that is in tenure track position, there is additional scientist. And this additional scientist is with a PhD after postdoc, and it provides the possibility of better realizing the potential of the lab. There are conflicting issues there, but we decided to invest resources to make sure that we provide at least part of our activities with staff scientists, and as I said, scholarships are essential as well. So this is a very brief overview of what we are doing. There are many things more to say, but I think that it is better to stop now. We will be very happy to take comments and questions after the short presentations that we will hear. So please write down your comments. Maybe additional comments will add up after the presentations. And we thought that it will be better for me not to just say generalized things about research, about what we are doing, but rather to enable us to have a taste of what is actually going on out there. And therefore we invited several faculty members, all women, but they were selected just because they are excellent researchers, and we thought that their research is of interest, and this is why they are here. The first scholar is Dr. Yafit Gilboa. Yafit is from our School of Occupational Therapy that is part of our Faculty of Medicine. And this School of Occupational Therapy has undergone important changes in recent years. In the past, it was a school that was established as a joint venture of Hadassah and the Hebrew University. We worked together, but 4 or 5 years ago, we decided to split. Hadassah did not find interest in continuing with the activity of their involvement with this school, while we thought that this school is an excellent place both for research and studying. It provides state-of-the-art research and teaching in this highly important field of occupational therapy, of rehabilitation of people, providing aid to the elderly, disabled people, and things like that. And therefore, we decided to operate it independently of Hadassah. Currently, in this summer, we will start construction of the new place for school inside this campus. Although the school is part of the STEM sciences, it will be located here, and we hope very much that it will continue to strive even inside our campus. So Yafit is a faculty member there, and she will share with us some aspects of her research. It is titled A Closer Look at Remote Rehabilitation. Yafit, please.
Hi everyone, good morning. Well, my name is Yafit Gilboa, and I am an occupational therapist and senior lecturer at the School of Occupational Therapy. Thank you, Barak, for your invitation. Dear governors and all this honorable audience, I'm very excited. And I hope to give you a short and a closer look at remote rehabilitation. Well, I was born and raised at the Jezreel Valley at the north of Israel, to a family of farmers. These are my parents and kids. Huh? Yeah, it's watermelons. Yeah. So since 2014, I'm part of the School of Occupational Therapy, which is one of the 5 schools of the Faculty of Medicine. We have a variety of programs from bachelor degree to doctoral degree studies. Our undergraduate students, we receive annually around 80 students per year from diverse cultural backgrounds. The study lasts 3.5 years and include clinical field works. We also choose some of our excellent students during this program, and they are being accepted to honor program when they actually learn master degree in parallel to their bachelor degree. We also have a master degree program, and just recently we got approval for 2 new and really, really unique program specializations in neurodevelopmental disability and also in geriatrics, which are unique in Israel. And we also have PhD students and some postdoc fellows. I choose this model of the ICF, the International Classification of Function and Disability of Health, published by the World Health Organization in 2001, since it's the most settled model in studies in rehabilitation and occupational therapy, in order to understand the ultimate goal of occupational therapy, which is to enable any person with any kind of health condition or disease to participate in the activities of everyday life that he or she wants to participate. I was lucky enough to establish and now being the head of the laboratory for technical application in rehabilitation. And maybe you're all familiar now since the COVID of the term telerehabilitation, but our study began way before the COVID. And they mainly focus on 2 aspects of rehabilitation, which are tele-evaluation and tele-intervention. And I will share with you some examples. Well, in the literature, we identified that the main problem of rehabilitation are the transitions. Specifically, imagine someone following hip fracture, for example, being admitted to an inpatient rehabilitation department. Usually, their function improves, but when they release home back to the community, sadly, their function decreases. So we understood that the weakest link in the chain of care is in transition, and we hope to suggest a solution for this problem, which is mainly based on telerehabilitation, in order to allow people to improve and get care in the community, to age in place, and using cost-effective model of treatment, and use the technologies that's now available in everyone's pocket. So back to the same ICF model that I just presented, there were few studies about telerehabilitation before we established our line of research in this area, but they mainly focused on the improvement of body functions, which means specific skills like memory or like range of motion. But the uniqueness of our research is the direct focus on improving participation of people on the activities and functional goals that they desire to improve. So how it works, for example, a patient following acquired brain injury return home from the rehabilitation to back to the community, and then the occupational therapist met him and asked, okay, so what are your most important activities that you want to do but you cannot perform by yourself? And for example, he defined that he wants to being able to dress independently or being able to return to cook for his grandchild's. And then she met him via video conference while he's at home and she's at the clinic or at the lab. And they practiced directly the issues that he defined in order to improve his participation or her participation in daily activities. And we successfully repeated this model of intervention in various population, from children with traumatic brain injury, adolescents with spina bifida, through adults, cancer survivors with cognitive decline, and even geriatric population like people following hip fracture and stroke. The next line of research is teleevaluation. For example, the GIFT is a standardized assessment tool that we develop in order to allow occupational therapists to identify children who are at risk for developmental delay. Now, during the COVID, actually, we validated an online version of the tool where it was performed remotely via video conference. The second line of teleevaluation actually challenged the setting of assessment being currently done in occupational therapy and in many health professionals, which is based on one single assessment performed at the clinic. We're now moving toward ecological momentary assessment. Ecological means that it being done when the patient is at home, and momentary implies for the fact that it's been done more than once, but many times. Like, for example, I'm sure you're all aware of the difference between filling out a questionnaire, asking you, okay, so how did you feel in the last 2 weeks? Then asking you twice a day, how do you feel now during 2 weeks? And we use this model of assessment, the ecological momentary assessment, for example, in a study performed with many Israeli adults under stress. And we found that the ecological momentary mood that they report was the main predictor of their quality of life. Some of our current and future direction is to improve the use of ecological, to continue and expand the use of ecological momentary assessment, not just in the assessment of specific skill or behavior, but to assess the broad term of function, which is a great challenge. And the second one is to expand the use of tele-intervention model to other populations that now are very much in need, like child development settings, specifically in the periphery of Israel, and also into mental health rehabilitation communities. So thank you very much for your support, and also for my team. Thank you.
As I said, we'll take questions and comments afterwards because we are a bit short of time, but I hope that we will have some time for that. The next presentation will be by a PhD student, Aisha Maslemani, and Aisha here represents two aspects. One aspect is our highly successful program in cognitive sciences. It's an undergraduate program and a graduate program that is interdisciplinary in nature, combines the two campuses in the Safra campus and here, and it's a very successful program, and it's part of our status as a real hub in the whole area of brain sciences, together with ELSEC, of course, and other activities. And Aisha is a graduate of our cognitive science program, as you will hear in a second. In addition, Aisha is an East Jerusalemite, and we are very happy that at the Hebrew University currently we have around 150 Arab-Palestinian PhD students. It's about 7% of the body of students at the PhD level. Again, we aim to increase it to at least double the number, and Aisha is an ambassador in this respect. And as you will hear in a minute, when Aisha started her academic career back in 2007, when she considered where to study for a BA, she didn't even consider Hebrew University. Although she lives very close by to the university was somewhere that is irrelevant for her life. And she went on to study at Bethlehem. She was very successful there, and even started working, and we will hear from that. And the fact that Aisha decided to come and study graduate studies here, first for MA and then for PhD, was a huge challenge for her both personally and academically speaking, and the fact that she is so successful, she is a brilliant student, reflects the change in the relations between the Hebrew University and the Palestinian community around us. And we are very happy that Aisha is part of our community, that Aisha now believes that this university belongs to her just as it belongs to me. It's her university just as it is ours. So Aisha, please.
Shalom, marhaba. First, I would like to thank Professor Barak Medina for inviting me today. It's my pleasure and honor to be here today and to share with you my journey at the Hebrew University. My name is Aisha Maslamani. I'm from East Jerusalem. I'm a PhD student at the Department of Cognitive and Brain Sciences in the Faculty of Humanities. And I will start to introduce myself by a way of my parents. I was born to an unusual father who thinks differently than fathers in our community. He believes in gender equality. He taught me that women are rational as men, and he raised me to be an ambitious woman who's highly motivated and not afraid of challenges. I'm also born to a very religious mother who believes in love and spiritual life. Both of my parents, they affected my choices in life. For example, today I have been accepted to the Center of Rationality, and also my choice in my MA thesis, it was about the difference between facts and opinions. Okay, so I did, as Professor Barak Medina told you, I did my BA in chemistry and business administration at Bethlehem University in the Palestinian territories. And subsequently, I started to work as a teacher. I was a science and mathematics teacher. I was passionate with all things related to critical thinking, so I led many projects about creative and critical thinking in schools. The last one is about mind mapping. And actually, these projects encouraged me to enroll at Hebrew University to study the cognitive processes, which is responsible of critical thinking. The movement from Palestinian academic institution to an Israeli one, it was challenging and difficult. It took me 2 years until I have been accepted as a master's student at Hebrew University. But I have to say that it was a mind expander adventure. It enables me to think outside the box by the advanced courses and resources available to me. It also opened many doors for me, like academic opportunities. Today, I'm a teaching assistant at the Department of Psychology. I'm also a coordinator for the Arab doctoral group. And it enables me to make a collaboration with many researchers. For example, besides or in addition to my master's thesis, I developed an Arabic version of the picture-based value survey for children. We collaborate with Dr. Iyas Nasser. He's a scholar in the Arabic department here at Hebrew University. And the purpose of this study was to investigate the values of Arab children from different religions, Christians, Muslims, Druze, and to compare it to Jewish Israeli children. I have to say that this study has three significant contributions. First of all, to the best of our knowledge, it's the first study who studies the Arab children, values of Arab children starting from age 5. It's also computerized, so we can send the link to our participants. We can measure their values by computer, smartphone, tablets, and also from developmental perspectives, this study took into account critical variables such as culture and religions. And yes, this project, it was the motivation, motivated me to start to merge two words of research, the values and cognition. And now I'm going to talk about three things: my doctoral research, Mandel Scullion Center, and my social life at Hebrew University. So I'm interested in the research of values, but from a cognitive perspective. I'm fortunate to have two advisors from the psychology department, Professor Ariel Knafo. He's an expert in value research. Professor Ruth Mayo, who's an expert in research of social cognition. And what I'm trying to do is to ask, is it possible for people to have unconscious values? And values is defined as an abstract ideals which vary in its importance, and it's considered as a guiding principles in our lives. According to the Schwartz model of human values, which is a dominant theory in the research of values, we have 10 distinct values, and these values are structured in a circular way. And for example, universalism and benevolence, both two values, they share the same motivations, which is focus on the welfare of others. And achievement and power, they also share the same motivation, which is the self-focus. And we know that values predict behavior. For example, if it's so important for me to help others, this will predict many pro-social behaviors such as a donation, sharing money with others. But actually the link between values and behavior, it's not one-to-one, which means sometimes it's low. And this was the starting point of my PhD question: is it possible that we have a subconscious system of values? And the first project in my doctorate is to develop an implicit measure for values. Over the past year, also I have the privilege of being part of a group research at Mandel Scholar Research Center, affiliated with the Faculty of Humanities. In this group, as you can see, we are 4 candidate PhD doctoral students with 4 seniors. We are devoted to studying the evolution of attention in the modern world, and we are work together weekly at Mandel Building, trying to develop a research language in order to understand how the attention is changed in the modernity. I have to say that being part of Mandel community, it has a profound influence of on my scholarship. So actually, I'm benefiting from the support of the staff and also the scholars there who give me new ideas and encouraged me to advance my research. Okay, at the social level, at Hebrew University, yes, today I can say that the loneliness accompanied me during my master's degree is over. This year, with the encouragement of Professor Mona Kasabri and the heads of Mandel School, Professor Daniel Schwartz and Professor Elisheva Baumgarten, I initiated a special group for Arab doctoral students at the Hebrew University. In this forum, 15 graduate Arab students, they met together to communicate in their mother tongue and share the challenges they encountered during their doctorals. This forum also provides sessions and workshops to improve their academic skills, such as writing articles, presenting at conferences, and preparing for the postdoctoral phase. And it's important for me to note that this group is funded by the diversity of unit of diversity here at Hebrew University. And we are working on organizing a writing retreat for the next year for the all Arab doctoral students from all the campuses of Hebrew University. There is no better way to end this presentation than sharing my upcoming news. Next year, I will teach a special course in the Department of Psychology named with Psychology for Arab Society. And I also have the opportunity to make an internship in the most leading lab in England. My supervisor, Professor Ariel Knafo, put me in touch with Professor Greg Mayo. Professor Greg Mayo has a leading lab studying values and awareness. And I will spend the next fall semester at Bath to develop an implicit measure of values. I hope and I'm sure that being there, it will contribute to my research and it will increase my research capacity when I return to Jerusalem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aisha. One day you'll stand here, this podium. Next, we will benefit from hearing about physics. Professor Yonit Hochberg is a faculty member at our Rakach Institute of Physics. As you know, and Asher mentioned it on Sunday, we are experiencing a shift toward including applied research, commercialized knowledge at the university. But at the same time, we do not give up our bread and butter, which is basic research, trying to understand the mysteries of our universe, continuing the example set by Albert Einstein and others. And we will hear today from Professor Hochberg about her work on trying to understand what dark matter is and various aspects like that. Yonit is a world leader in her fields, and we are very lucky to have her with us at the university. And thank you for taking the time between flights and other commitments to be with us. So, Yonit, please.
Okay, so hi everyone, and thanks for the invitation to join. So I'm Yonit, and before I tell you what the universe is made of, I'm a theoretical particle physicist. And before we delve into what these words mean, let me just start by saying what my personal universe is made of, and it's these two munchkins, Maya, who's 3 years old, and Lior, who's 5. And being a mother really sits at the core of who I am as a person, but also who I am as a scientist. A little bit about myself. So I'm one of 4 sisters. I was born in the US, and my family made Aliyah when I was 4 years old, so I grew up here in Jerusalem. As a very curious kid about the world and about nature, I participated in many Hebrew University youth activities in the form of what used to be called Nor Shocher Madeh, in its modern incarnation, the Youth Division. I went to a religious all-girls high school here in Jerusalem called Pelech, and after my national service, I went on to do my undergraduate degree, actually in electrical engineering, in an extremely applied field at the Technion. Then for my graduate studies, I went to the Weizmann Institute for both my master's and my PhD. So if you see me dressed up over there as Big Bird, that's sort of a typical day of having fun while I do research. Towards the end of my graduate studies, I actually met the man who would later become my husband, Professor Eric Kuflik, who's actually also a faculty member here at the Rakach Institute of Physics, also dealing in theoretical particle physics. After I graduated in 2013, I went on to do a postdoc at UC Berkeley. And so this picture over here of the sunset is actually the beautiful view that I ended my workday with every day from my office up at the lab, at the National Lab on the Hill. I then joined Eric, who at the time was a postdoc at Cornell, for one last year together there before we returned home, and that's the year when our son was born. And then nearly 5 years ago, we returned here to Hebrew University, to Jerusalem, as 2 faculty members. And I have to say, we've been absolutely enjoying every single moment of it. Our daughter Maya was born here, and just really having an incredible time doing research in this amazing environment with absolutely phenomenal students, where we really have a motto of doing good physics and good spirits always. So, as a faculty member at the Rakach Institute of Physics, I'll tell you briefly about our institute. We have around 46 faculty members, roughly 440 undergraduate students, and 170 graduate students, as well as 40 postdocs. And our fields of research are divided into sort of roughly these categories. There's high energy physics, which I'm a part of. We have condensed matter physics, biophysics, nonlinear physics, atomic, molecular, and optical physics, nuclear physics, and all of these sort of come together and interface at this emerging field of quantum information. And I'll just mention that I'm also the coordinator of the gender equality and gender fairness activities in our institute, really working to make our environment the best possible for people to thrive and really for our science to thrive. So getting back to what I do as a theoretical particle physicist, I think maybe the best way to understand what these words mean is to understand what kind of questions we're interested in asking. So the first question that I want to understand is, what are we made of? We've known for some while that our universe is made out of molecules, but molecules aren't fundamental building blocks. They're made out of smaller stuff called atoms. And atoms themselves, also not fundamental constituents, they're made out of even smaller things, protons and neutrons. And we nowadays know that even protons and neutrons are not fundamental particles. They're made out of something even smaller called quarks, which are held together by the strong force. And so in principle, we want to understand what are all of those fundamental constituents that make up the beautiful world that we see around us, and how do they interact amongst themselves? The second thing we want to understand is, how did we get here? So we're sitting here in Jerusalem together in Israel, of course on planet Earth. Planet Earth, just one planet in our solar system. And the sun, just one star out of many, many stars in our galaxy. And even our galaxy, just one out of many, many galaxies that exist in our universe. So we want to understand, how do stars form? How do galaxies form? And in principle, to understand our cosmological evolution all the way back to the starting point of the Big Bang. And central to both of these questions is the identity of dark matter. Because it turns out if you take our universe and kind of think of it as a jar of jelly beans, then you see those colorful jelly beans? That's all the stuff that we already understand. In fact, that makes up just 5% out of everything that's out there. And so the vast majority of what's out there is actually something dark. Our universe is dark. Nearly 30% of the energy content is in the form of dark matter. And what is the identity of this dark matter is perhaps one of the biggest mysteries of modern day physics. And so what I want to try to understand is, what is this dark matter and how can we detect it? And I go about shedding light on this important question in sort of two complementary modalities. On the one hand, I develop new theoretical concepts for what could be the particle identity of dark matter, and I simultaneously develop new concepts for experiments that we could use to search for this dark matter in the laboratory. And so just to give you an example from the theoretical side, for instance, I've proposed a new candidate for dark matter that's essentially saying that dark matter could be a dark version of a force that we already understand very well and see in our universe, the strong force. And the reason this is important is because this predicts that dark matter has mass and interactions that are vastly different than what's been the standard lore for nearly 4 decades. And this work has garnered a lot of attention both from the scientific community, but also from sort of the popular media as well, because it really points to a very different dark matter, which means that the way that we search for it in an experiment should be drastically different too. And so I also developed these new concepts for how to drastically differently search for dark matter. And to give you an example, I've recently proposed to take a technology developed for a completely different field of research, for quantum information science, and apply it for the first time towards the dark matter hunt. And so our technology of choice is called the superconducting nanowire. And essentially, I reached out to the world-leading quantum sensing experts in the field, sitting at MIT and NIST in this case, and using existing prototypes device that they already had sitting in their laboratory, we were able to place world-leading limits on dark matter with a mass 1 million times smaller than the proton. And we were able to outbeat, with this tiny little detector, ton-scale detectors that have been constructed over the last 20 years, involving millions and millions of investments of dollars. And that really goes to show you the power of the approach. If you're willing to think outside the standard box, even the sky is not the limit. And I'm very fortunate to have an incredible group here at my local institution, an absolutely stellar group of postdocs coming from top universities such as MIT at Harvard that we're able to be competitive with thanks to prestigious fellowships that we can offer them, as well as absolutely amazing students, both at the undergraduate and graduate level, who come to me from honors programs that we have here, as well as distinguished fellowships. And this work really carries impact. I've been fortunate to be awarded a very large grant from the European Union recently, an ERC grant, to help me develop these novel concepts. And once we develop these new ideas here at Hebrew University, through my already existing broad network of collaborators across the fields of quantum sensing experts and dark matter experimentalists, we're really able to bring these ideas into reality. And I think this is a beautiful example of how fundamental science and applied science need not come at the expense of each other, but really they can really infuse each other and serve as a driver for each other as together we reach higher to unravel the mysteries of the universe. And I'll thank you for your time.
So much, Yonit. I should share with you an embarrassing fact. When I approached Yonit, she told me, well, what's going on? Asher already invited me to present on Sunday and Re'em on Wednesday. So I won, as you see. Thank you for that. Our last, great minds think alike. Our last presentation will be by one of our deans. as I already mentioned, the deans are the driving force of our university. And Professor Sarah Cohen is the dean of our School of Computer Science and Engineering. The school is experiencing huge growth, and under the leadership of Professor Cohen, we expect it to even further grow. And of course, we are not talking about only overall numbers, but also about quality of research. It's a school that actually radiates to the entire university in terms of cooperating in various aspects of computational research. We already heard about various aspects of computational medicine and digital humanities, and in fact, any field at the university is in need for computational theory and power, and the school is very cooperative in this respect. Just to give you an example of our leading status in this respect, just a few weeks ago, a leading foundation, American foundation, has decided to establish a global postdoctoral program in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and they decided to select only 30 leading institutions around the world to participate in this program, and we are one of these 30 leading institutions. And this, again, reflects our strong position in this area. And we are, again, very lucky to have Sarah as the leader of our school. Sarah, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Barak, for this opportunity. Like Yonit, I was also born in the U.S. I moved to Israel when I was 13. I have been the dean of the School of Computer Science and Engineering since October, a faculty member for 15 years. My research focuses on data management, and perhaps that's not surprising given the fact that I have 7 kids, so just keeping track of where everyone is, who has homework, needs data management skills. My current focus is on diversity and representative inquiry answering, but I'm not here to talk about my research. I'm here to talk about the school. And what I'm going to give you is a highly abridged version of the story of our school. I'd be really thrilled to discuss more about it, anybody who wants to hear offline afterwards. So I would say that our school, as part of Hebrew University in total, we see ourselves as a force that tries to be excellent and innovative at the same time. So both at the top of the research, but also looking forward always to where the trends are in the world and making sure we get there early on. So you can see that our school opened a graduate program really early worldwide, already in 1969, and our undergraduate program was also opened quite early. Another example of how people in the school look forward to what's happening outside. Our school is actually the first institution outside of North America, and of course the first place in Israel, to be connected to the internet. So this is definitely a case of seeing where the world trends are and being there early. A bit about our faculty members. So we're currently about 50 faculty members, and next year we'll be 55, so we have another 5 joining us. We're growing constantly. Our faculty members do research in the 3 core areas of computer science, artificial intelligence, systems, and theory. And we also have faculty who are doing research in areas that are beyond the core, whether it's computational biology, signal processing, but also areas that are maybe more unusual, like privacy and ethics as to how they pertain to technology. So there's lots of really interesting and varied research going on in our school. And this slide is just to kind of give you a sprinkling of different research topics that you can see people are working on in the school. I could have, of course, put 50 different pictures here, but I spared you from that. So you can see we're working on image processing, cybersecurity, lots of really exciting areas, but also things like green AI, how to make sure that artificial intelligence, which is a leading force in the world, is not harming our environment too much, and responsible computing, how to make sure that computers, which are taking over our lives everywhere, are doing it in a way that's equitable for all of society. So there's lots of really exciting research happening in the school. We have several research centers. So here are an example of 2 research centers in the area of cybersecurity. We have the Fetterman Center of Security Research, which is together with the Israeli Directorate for Cybersecurity. And this is really unique because it's a collaboration between our school and the Faculty of Law. We're looking not only at the technological aspects, but also how this pertains to national and international law. And we have also the Fraunhofer Cybersecurity Project Center, which is in collaboration with the Fraunhofer Center in Germany. German students come to Israel, our students go to Germany, and they collaborate together on really exciting research projects in the area. Outside of our main focus of our faculty members is obviously research and our academics within the school, but they're also making changes in the industry outside. And here you can see some examples of startups that were started by our faculty and by our alumni. So we're really, at the school, we're really not only making changes within, but also affecting the industry in total. A bit about our students. We try to make sure that our students, beyond getting a stellar education, also have a great time while doing it. That's what we hope, at least. So you can see we have about 2,500 students in the school. Many of them are doing a single major program, but also we have a large number of doing double majors. This is part of the vision of computer science, as part of a larger whole, really affecting almost every area of work. And you can see, for example, on the top of the slide, some examples of double majors that our students are doing, whether it's data science, which is together with the Department of Statistics, and we even have students who are super women and super men because they are doing a double major with medicine, and they're getting both an MD and a BSc in computer science at the same time. Again, part of a vision that in order to really make changes in all fields, people also need to have these extra skills of computer science. We also have some smaller, more boutique programs, like in computational biology, and the Matar program, which I'll mention a bit more later on. Our school has experienced rapid growth. We've more than tripled the student body in the last decade. This is while only increasing the acceptance threshold, and we constantly have people at our door asking to get in, and we just don't have enough places for everybody. It's not surprising that we've grown, perhaps, given the fact that this is the area in which there's the most vacancies in employment currently, and there's a huge demand to continue to grow even more. Student diversity is something that's important in our school. That's why we track it, because if you track something, you can try to make improvements. Overall, in terms of women in our undergraduate body, we have about 1/3 women undergraduates. It's not as good as we would like, but actually worldwide, those are considered really good numbers. And in some of our smaller programs, we actually have even more women undergraduates than men. So also some information about the Arab community, ultra-Orthodox community. Again, the numbers are not where we would like them to be, but we're tracking and we're trying to make improvements. One of the beautiful things about our student body is not only are they brilliant and motivated and hardworking, but they're also interested in improving social issues too. And there are actually 2 different organizations that came out of students from our school. This is grassroots, in order to improve the diversity in the STEM areas. The first one, which is called Queen Bee, is actually quite an old institution at this point. It's become countrywide, but it started in our school, where they bring girls in 7th and 8th grade to the universities as an after-school program to learn computer science and get exposed to this exciting work. Another more recent effort, which I think you're going to hear about tonight also, is called 4Start. This is about 1.5 to 2 years old at this point, and there they bring people from neighborhoods in Jerusalem which are typically underrepresented, and they bring them again to the university to study some computer science in an afternoon program. I was recently at their end of the year ceremony. The students are doing things there the kids are doing things there that are just amazing. We also have students who are in our department studying computer science and also part of the Israeli Defense Force at the same time. The IDF chose Hebrew University to be its partner to give its soldiers the career development that they need in order to have these computer skills in the defense of the country. We have a nice, large industrial affiliates program, which I'm not going to tell you about, but you could just see that all these companies, they want to be in our program because they all want to get their hands on our students as soon as they leave, or even earlier. A tiny bit about infrastructure, our building. You were all in our school on Sunday. We have a lovely building, 3 buildings that are connected by a corridor. Lots of student labs where the students love to spend their time, a lot more there than in the lecture hall, unfortunately or fortunately. And we have a nice auditorium, which you were at during the president's session, and some classes. Of course, many of our classes take place outside of our building because we don't have the facility to have all of them in location. And I don't know if you can see in the picture, but we're actually bursting on our seams. We have classes where people sit on the steps because there's just not enough room given the high demand of people who want to study computer science. So we're hoping to grow there too. And just a little bit about the future. This is a picture, I don't know if you can see it so well, but this is a picture of our graduates from last year. And I'd say the future is already here because as a school, again, we're trying to look at what the future is and be there before we get to there chronologically. So in terms of data science, which is clearly a huge trend in the world, a very important area, we have over 50 courses in machine learning and data science. We have a joint program with the statistics department where students focus on data science, and we're happy to be part of the CIDR Center for Interdisciplinary Data Science Research, which is headed by a faculty member in computer science together with a faculty member from statistics, where the aim is to help researchers in all the different departments of the university use data science skills within their own research. Lots of exciting research happening there too. And another example of the future, which is already here, is our MATAR program, Interfaces of Technology, Society, and Networks. This is an undergraduate degree which aims to bridge the gap between technology and social science. So we have students who are doing a double degree, either in computer science with MATAR or in one of the social sciences with MATAR, and our computer science students are getting the skills to understand how what they do affects the world at large, while the social science students are getting the technology know-how to bring into their the workforce afterwards. We already have 2 groups of graduates who are doing really interesting work in the industry. And I would say finally, but I'm not going to say finally because this is a to-be-continued story. We're at the very beginning, I think, of a story which is going to be extremely interesting as it continues on. We're hoping to continue to grow in all areas, to grow our faculty and the research, to grow our student body, to increase in diversity, and to grow in infrastructure so that we can really allow the growth in students and faculty just to have enough room. So thank you, everyone. If anybody's interested afterwards, I'd love to talk about it more.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Incredible. We are unfortunately short in time. We will extend this session. It will last until 1:15. And so I think that we will have to take questions during lunch rather than now. I apologize for that. Almost finally of this part of the session, as you could notice during the presentation, we still have a lot of challenges in front of us. And in order to meet these challenges, the university needs an excellent rector. And I'm very happy to report that the Senate has elected a new rector, and he will present himself shortly. Tamir, please.
Thank you, Barak. First of all, the university has an excellent rector right now. And I believe this is Barak's last rector session. So I would like to thank Barak for excellent 5 years. I think that I maybe can represent the whole deans and the faculty of this university by thanking you for doing an excellent job. And you saw the numbers, and it is much more than that. Thank you. So Barak asked me to take 5 minutes to present myself, and I think 5 minutes is probably too much. I'll use less than that. I was born in a kibbutz, also in the northern part of Israel, maybe close to your feet, in a minute. The food was awful, but we were fed with values such as curiosity and achievement. This is another kid from my small group of kids. It's, I think, the most beautiful kibbutz in Israel, here David. But as everything in Israel, everything becomes political. So it's a center of a very big political debate. So early in life, I learned that in Israel, everything is political and the media control the world. And therefore, I become a journalist, a reporter. And after being a reporter for several years, I decided that it would be a good idea to go and actually study a little bit about what I did. So I went to Berkeley to study, to do my BA in Berkeley, to study political communication. And after that, I came back to the Hebrew University to do my PhD in political communication, so it's opposite to the general trend. I live in Givatayim with my beautiful family. I'm the Dean of the Social Sciences faculty. It's my 6th year, so it's my middle of my 2nd term. Study political communication, having a lab, working with Yisum, hopefully that someday something will turn out of it. I have a lot of collaboration, international collaboration. Over there you can see my several European groups. I have collaborations with colleagues in North America as well. And exciting to meet the great challenges that we still have ahead. The university has a lot of challenges, as you well know. But I think the sky is the limit for this university, and I'm looking forward to take these challenges. Thank you.
And so we'll conclude here. As I said, I apologize that we did not have time for comments and questions. We'll do that during lunch. I'll just say thank you to Asher and Ishai for this wonderful cooperation, and to the entire staff. But it's not the time to say farewell yet. We'll have the time for that. Then I hand it over to you.
Thanks, Barak. Okay, we have some business to take care of. We'll try to get through this as quickly as possible so that everybody can get to lunch. The agenda, I don't know if everybody has the agenda, but what we're going to go through is reports from some committees, re-election of committee members, election of some new board members, and a couple of important amendments to the Constitution. On Sunday, we had meetings of 2 of the vital committees of the university, the Budget and Finance Committee and the Endowment Funds Committee. And let me ask the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, Avram Masheri, to please come and report for that committee.
Chairman Schlesinger, dear members of the Board of Governors, the Budget and Finance Committee convened to discuss the financial statements for the year ending September 21 and the forecast implementation of the budget for this year. The financial statement for the year 21 was recommended by the Audit Committee and approved by the Board of Managers. The operation turnover during the year was 2.6 billion shekels. I will point main changes this year. I ask, please, the Director General Yishai Frenkel to brief regarding the high-tech park and the agreement with the Israel Lands Authority. Mr. Frenkel, please.
Yeah, thank you, Avram. So two short updates in the previous foil. So first thing is the high-tech park, which was called Hujitech. It is now called Hebrew Park, or in Hebrew, Park HaIvrit. This is a partnership we have with the largest developer of high-tech parks in Israel, a company called Gaviam. It's a partnership for 99 years, where the university owns 1/3 of this activity, in the sense that 1/3 of all revenues will come to the university. This is a large park, which will eventually consist 250,000 square meters. This is large. It's located on the southwestern part of campus. Construction is divided into 3 phases. The first phase, which will create 2 buildings out of the 4, the 2 lower buildings out of 4, is planned to be completed in 2 years from now. That is in May of 2024. Roughly 40% so far have already, leases have already been signed. A number of additional leases are being negotiated. The overall the project looks very positive from our perspective. The second project is a significant agreement we signed a number of months ago with ILA, with the Israel Lands Authority, whereby the university gives roughly 150,000 square meters outside our main campuses, mainly here in Mount Scopus, to the Lands Authority. They're working in the past 2 years already to develop them, to develop these areas. They will be marketed later on, and we will share the revenues with the Lands Authority. The proceeds are expected to be very high, and they will all go our bank account and serve the university for many more years to come.
Thank you, Yishai. The accumulated deficit of the university reduced from close to 1.8 billion shekel in 2016 to about a half, 900 million shekel this year. The university has a budgetary obligation to pay pension to staff started working before the year 2000. The present value of these pensions is close to 11 billion shekel. The PBC present value participation is about 6 million shekel, including rights of the staff. The university provided 5.7 billion shekel net reserves. The PBC participation in 21 increased by 70 million shekel and reached 1.45 billion shekels. Now, with regard to the implementation forecast for this year, ending on September, so small difference compared to the budget. The total projection is to have income of 2.441 billion shekel. The operating expenditure projected to be 2.385 billion. So the deficit necessary for activities of independent units is 56 million shekel. Altogether, the operating balance is small positive. The overall expenditures are 5 million above the budget. The salary and pension are 14 million over the budget, some due to increase in the cost of living index. Maintenance and utilities are 5 million under the budget. The overall income projected to be 6 million over the budget. Contribution from friends is 22 million over the budget and will reach 138 million shekel. Income from the PBC is 8 million under the budget, mainly due to across-the-board cut. The inflation forecast therefore shows, as you see, same level of income and expenditures. We would especially note the continued successful of the implementation of the renewal program. Thank you.
Thank you, Avraham. The other committee that met on Sunday was the Endowment Funds Committee, and let me ask Amnon Goldschmidt to please come and report for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, everybody. I have almost the worst slot just before lunch and presenting numbers. But I'll try to be short. I have two parts here. The first one is about the endowment fund portfolio of the Hebrew University, and I'll have two short slides, or maybe one, about our global portfolio, which includes our American friends, Canadian and British. The Israeli portfolio of the Hebrew University portfolio is about 2.4 billion or 2.3 billion. The rate of return, the period I'm talking about is October 1st, 21 to April 30, 22. It's one period, but very different. First 3 months and the last 4 months. The overall rate of return was 1.3%, which is a small fraction above our benchmark. And in income terms, in money terms, it's about 31 million Israeli shekels. The breakdown of the portfolio is, if you can see, the breakdown is as follows. The blue part is fixed income in Israeli shekels, mainly government bonds of various kinds. I must say older bonds, bought in times where the interest rates were much higher than they were till last month, but they are now going, they have a very short maturity period. So it's fixed income and cash. The more interesting part is the equity part. We have local equity in red, which is 15% of our portfolio. We have international equity in green, which is 21%. So all in all, it's about 36%, close to 37. Cash is a small factor, and it serves us mainly to use opportunities that arise from time to time. We have also foreign currency fixed income, but it is very small. The 3.1% in real estate is only one investment in a Yisum company. We are not investing in real estate up to now, not directly, mainly through funds. One problem we have to tackle is the gap between our assets, denominated mostly in US dollars, and our liabilities, because gap means a position, an open position. So the overall gap is about 23%, but the liabilities cover about 13% of it, and we have an open position, which is subject to fluctuations in the shekel dollar, mainly shekel dollar rate. As I said, is about 10%. We are allowed to take up to 15%, so we don't use all this open position. The investment policy, as it was last ratified in March, I guess it was March 21, is as follows. We are allowed to go as high as 40% in equity, which is substantially higher than it was before. The upper ceiling of alternative investments, which include private investment funds like capital funds, debt funds mainly, and also real estate funds, is 25, as I said. Real estate is not used. As I mentioned before, only 3% in one investment. And the plug number, if you like, is investing in fixed income. I presume there are going to be some changes here because interest rates, as everybody knows now, interest rates are rising and going to rise further. And I'm sure there are going to be opportunities also in the fixed income area, which was not the case up to now. The overall portfolio, as I said, including American friends, British friends, and Canadian friends, the overall portfolio, the main point I want to make about it is the relative share of the Hebrew University portfolio and the American part, which if you have looked 5 years back, there was a real substantial gap between the American share and our share here in Jerusalem, and now they are almost equal. Canadian and British portfolio are relatively small. And the last point I want to make is about the breakdown of the portfolio. As you saw before, major part is equity, 45%. It includes US equity, it includes non-US equity, and global equity. And the question is, what's the difference between non-US and global? Global are investments in funds that are holding also US as well as non-US, but we cannot differentiate it because those funds are not managed by us. The other side is a breakdown of the other, which means not fixed income. And here, 2 points which I would like to mention is, first, there is a major part of what we call marketable alternatives. Marketable alternatives are mainly hedge funds. In Jerusalem, we are not investing almost none in hedge funds, so this investment is mainly done by our US colleagues. Private capital funds includes, as I said, equity funds, sometimes called capital funds, debt funds, mainly that. The VC, private VC, is done mainly by our American colleagues, as well as the real estate. This is a breakdown. I started by saying that the period I'm talking about is really two periods, kind of two periods, very much different. The first period, the first 4 months, was positive. Stock markets were good, interest rates was low, and the performance was good. Once interest rates, inflation, and the war in Europe took place, the results are much worse. Though in Israel, it's not so bad as it is in the US. May, which I'm not presenting here, is worse than the results I showed. And my prediction is that June is going to be even worse. So we will have to go through this period. We are a long-term investor as a portfolio, and we should not look on 1 year, one after another, but on the whole period. And I hope we'll soon be in the blue again and not the red. Thank you.
Thank you, Amnon. Okay, now we want to re-elect some committee members. Mostly these are people who are already current members of these committees, with, I think, 1 or 2 exceptions. So, first of all, for the executive committee, there are 5 committees I think we're going to look at. First is the executive committee. You can see the 5 names there, all members in good standing and substantial contributors, as is true of all the people that we're looking at. But we need a vote on this. If there's no discussion, any questions? So all in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the executive committee members are reelected. Now we have the public alternate representatives abroad. Again, 5 names. Any questions on those? Not, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? That passes. Thank you. Next, we have the Budget and Finance Committee. We need to re-elect our eminent chairman, who's doing a phenomenal job, Avram Masheri, as you just heard, and 3 other members. Any questions on that? All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Let's do the Endowment Funds Committee. 2 members there. Any questions? All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Last committee is the Audit Committee, re-electing Mayor Dayan, and then 4 new, very impressive members to be elected to the Audit Committee. Any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Now we have board members to elect. There's a lot of names here. I apologize for how many names. I don't apologize for the people. The people are great. I apologize for how many names you're going to see in a relatively short period of time. But my proposal, for the sake of time, is that we do this as a group. Again, these are re-election of people who have been serving in good standing on the board. So those from the United States, from the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, from Israel, from Austria, Belgium, France, Germany, Ireland, Luxembourg, Monaco, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland, South America. I think that was it, yeah. Any questions on that? If not, again, I propose we elect all of them as a group. All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, now we have new board members. And let me note that these people have been decided on through careful review, consultation with the Friends groups, consideration by university management. From the United Kingdom, Alan Jacobs, as many of you know, our longtime friend and wonderful supporter, Isaac Kay, is leaving his position as head of the British Friends. We've been lucky enough to recruit Alan Jacobs to replace him, and Isaac is still going to be with us. He's just not heading the British Friends anymore. So Alan Jacobs has been selected by the British Friends as Isaac's successor. John Bauman from the United States, and through a very concerted effort to recruit excellent people from Israel, we've got a great list of people who will be joining, if you approve, from the state of Israel. Any questions on these nominations? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you for that. Lightning fast voting. Now, as I mentioned, we have 2 amendments to the Constitution. Both of these were approved by the Executive Committee at its meeting in March, and both are very sensible amendments. I'm going to ask Pepe to come forward and talk about them, but let me just make a couple of comments about them first. The first amendment is to reduce the term limit for the president from 12 years to 8 years. As most of you know, the Constitution currently provides for 4-year terms for the president with a limit of 3 terms, so 12 years. All of us, I think, who have looked at it closely think that 8 years is a better limit. Just in case anybody has any questions, the one who's been promoting this most forcefully is our current president, who is serving his second 4-year term. So this is nothing personal against the president. In fact, it's endorsing the views of the president that we should limit the term of the president to 2 4-year terms, so 8 years. The other change is recognizing the wonderful addition we made to the group of vice presidents. The Vice President for Strategy and Diversity, Mona Kharabi, is at the bottom there. I don't know if everybody can see it, but added as a vice president who is a member of the Senate. Pepe, I'm sorry if I stole your thunder, but why don't you come and tell us whatever you have to say.
Okay. So our first amendment, as Dan mentioned, is according to the provisions of the General Statutes today, the president is elected for a term of office of 4 years, and he could be reelected for 2 additional terms. That's a total of 12 years. And the proposal is actually to limit the term of office of the president to 2 terms of 4 years each, so that the president can serve for a maximum of 8 years. After thought, the university has come to the conclusion that a total term of 8 years provides really the right balance between the stability and experience needed for implementing the vision of the president and the need to secure the optimal functioning of the president. In most universities in Israel, the term of office of the president is limited to 2 terms. The term that exists today, which is a maximum of 3 terms, can lead to a person serving 12 years, which we consider to be too long a term, and it could contribute to erosion stemming from serving in this demanding task for a very long period. So this is the one amendment that we've asked to pass. Do we need to vote on this, I think. We'll vote on both of them afterwards. Okay. Our second amendment, as Dan mentioned, is the addition of the Vice President for Strategy and Diversity to the Senate as a member of the Senate. The Executive Committee of the University approved a year ago the appointment of Professor Mona Huri Kasabri as Vice President for Strategy and Diversity. The university has a great interest in promoting campus diversity and expanding its efforts to include underrepresented groups such as Arab, Haredi, and persons of Ethiopian origin communities. And we believe this position is of extreme importance to the university, and the office holder should be a member of the Senate of the university. So these are the two amendments that we wish to approve.
Thank you very much, Pepe. Any questions for Pepe? Yes.
If it's not, well, we don't really have a specific provision for that, but let's see now. We're proposing is that she not maybe re-elected, but I mean not serve for a period. No, I don't think so. No, because not consecutive terms. Yeah, sometimes you use in such phrasing, you use two consecutive terms, but what we're saying now is that the president can serve for a maximum period of eight consecutive years. So we could, if it would be, I think if it would be a reasonable period of time would pass, let's say after a year, 2, 3 years, it is possible that he could be reelected. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I am not an Israeli lawyer. I am an American lawyer, and my reading of this is because of the use of the word consecutive,
Yes.
it would be possible for someone to serve an additional term at a later date. My lawyer, Ike Sorkin, agrees with that.
So we can chase you in a few years, Asher.
Any other questions? I think we should vote on these two provisions, proposed amendments separately because they're very different in context. So the first amendment to limit the terms to 2 4-year terms, 8 consecutive years. All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. And the second proposed amendment to add the Vice President for Strategy and Diversity to the Senate. Any questions on that? All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Both those carry. Thank you very much for your cooperative voting. Mr. Rector, Mr. President, anything else to add? Okay, we're adjourned. Lunch is served in Meyersdorf down the hall. Thank you all.